All right, so we are joined from the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex by my friend, owner of DLB Consulting, Demetria Bivens. We thank you so much for taking some time for us. We're in the construction career cluster, and I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. This is our college career readiness class. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central High School, Ridgeland High School, Rosa Scott, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule for us today.
Glad to be here.
All right. So obviously we want to talk about all the different careers in construction, but just give us a little background about you. Um, because obviously people might be thinking, I can't believe I see a woman talking about construction, and especially can't believe I see a black woman talking about construction, but you've done so well and been so successful in this industry. So just give us a little background about how you got into it, and what made you really fall in love with it.
Well, the way I got into it was, I ask myself that all the time. Back in 2008, when the market crashed, I was doing something totally different. I was doing document imaging, taking paper documents, scanning them into digital imaging. The last project I had, I was covering 4 states for a waste management company, and we were scanning their documents, and the market crashed. And I didn't have an exit plan. I didn't, it, you know, none of it was just planned. So I had to go find something else to do. And I landed in construction, and I have loved it ever since. And that's been about what, 14 years ago, 15 years
Wow.
ago?
Yeah, and since then you've won multiple awards. You've been named to numerous committees. You're part of NAMC out there in DFW. You've been written about in numerous magazines. Just all types of great press for the great work you've been doing. And we'll share your website later to see some of the projects you've worked on. Now, I think it's important because construction, first of all, is not going anywhere. Things are always going to have to be built. Things are going to always have to be renovated. There's always going to have to be maintenance done on things that have been completed. So, when people think about construction, there's always a stereotype of just, a blue collar, let's go nail some things in a board and put things together and then go home. But there is so much technology involved. There's a lot of business involved. There's a lot of planning. There's a lot of design, a numerous amount of skills that some of them, we have a great civil engineering program here at Jackson State, our HBCU. Also great construction management programs at Southern Miss, Mississippi State. But if you don't see yourself being a college student, construction could still be a great way to make really good money and not necessarily only blue collar ways.
You are absolutely correct. And there's a big need for it. With have a shortage in workforce, there's so much that you can do in construction. I mean, if you're a people person like me, you could go into business development. You have to go and pursue the work. The work got to come in some kind of way, and that's by building those relationships. With anything, relationship is key to every business. I don't care what industry that you're in. You mentioned technology. If you like to play around with numbers and software, you like to draw, you may consider estimating, because you have to estimate, do the takeoff, come out with that right number for labor, material, and profit. If you like numbers, there's another thing. In addition to the estimating, there's job costing. You got to track all the things. Cash is king. Cash flow is king in construction. So you have to make sure you know where all those dollars are going, when they come in. Are you putting that money in the right place? Are you keeping money in your company? Or how are you eliminating waste? So you're right. It's just so many avenues for construction, project management, superintendent, project engineers. There's just a lot.
Yeah, and there had to be people to order the supplies and then get the supplies to the job site. Um,
Absolutely.
before anybody puts a shovel in the ground, there are months of planning and hours of planning that have to go into place, and we need more young people to get into this area of construction management. Now, obviously, the trade part is also a big part of this. We need more and more skilled tradespeople in construction of all types. I can pretty much tell you that you're going to tell me you're always looking for good tradespeople because that touch is so important to the customer. People want a great, especially in a place like Texas where it gets so dang hot. They want to make sure that AC is going to work when it gets installed. They want to make sure that insulation is going to be good when the winds and storms start coming. So if people are, if they like working with their hands, there's a lot of money to be made in this, and you can get skill certification in a few months. So just talk about the skills and trades that are needed in construction because there's a lot of money in that as well.
Oh, absolutely. We are a trade contractor. We are a painter. We do tape, bed, prime, and paint. People think about, oh, it's just painting. Well, no, it's not
Oh.
because, there's different levels of painting and we're the finisher. So that means that you have to be on schedule, working, knowing who's in front of you, who's behind you, if you stopping anyone, the flooring people for getting their job done, who's putting in the acoustical ceilings. So there's a lot with the painting, concrete. You just mentioned HVAC, the plumbing, the mechanical, waterproofing, roofers. I mean, there are so many trades out there and that are needed. And what you don't find is a lot, people are jumping on the construction management side because, the risks are different, right? But when you are a trade,
Ah, dead gummit.
yep,
All right, so
you
we're
were
back.
talking,
We're back after
I'm
some
sorry.
technical difficulties. But yeah, we were talking about the tradespeople and how important they are and how lucrative they can be.
Right. And one of the other ones that I wanted to mention is excavation. You got, when you're doing
Oh,
ground, the new build, you need excavation that start happening, the underground utilities. So there are so many opportunities on the trade side in construction.
yeah, and while we were had our break there, when you were coming back, we were talking about here in Madison County Schools. Our good friend Jerry Cox over there at Madison County Career and Technical Center. These kids can get skills and certifications in construction in high school, and they can move into the field while they're working on their degree, and go ahead and get that experience and be able to move into some very high paying jobs. Because I can tell you, a lot of these contractors would love to have a kid right out of high school to learn under them to help them advance into the field.
You're absolutely correct. Just yesterday I was at Ben Barber out at Mansfield Independent School District, and they
Yeah.
have innovative STEM type stuff going on over there. And I met with, I think, six. I have six. I'm bringing in six interns from 11:30
Wow.
to 2:30. Some of them want to be architectural. They want to do architectural. So I was talking to them about, what, that's great, but even with the architectural side, working with a construction company, you still have to read plans. How they're going
Yeah.
to have the opportunity to read the documentation, all the specifications, and just look at all the different areas of that building and how it's going to go up. So it's definitely going to be a learning opportunity for them, and you guys can get exposure. If you go to these companies, get an internship while you're in school, you're going to be exposed to so much architect, engineer, and construction all there in one spot. And don't forget about the trade contractor associations like NAMAC, the National Association of Minority Contractors. We have 22 chapters around the country. We have student chapters in some of the colleges around the country. So there are a lot of opportunities to get exposure if you want to learn more about getting into the industry.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this industry, which I think is so much fun, is you really have a tangible outcome of your job, and that has to be such a great feeling to say, look, I helped design this, I helped build it. People get to see this every day, and I had a hand in that. But the cool thing about being an architect or being a designer is just because you design it doesn't mean you don't learn how it's built. We have other friends of this class that are architects, and they say, yeah, I design it, but then once they start building it, I go out there and I'm meeting with my trade people and I'm making sure everything's done correctly. So just because you're a office drafting design person doesn't mean you don't have knowledge of the trade as well.
Oh, absolutely. The architect has to approve it. That's when you go in and you look at the back office support. They look those pay applications and all those supporting documents. It has to be approved by those architects because they design it. They're responsible to make sure and it's get built to spec for that owner.
Now, obviously, we have to talk about because there has to have been a time where you showed up as a construction person and people have said, what's a woman doing here? But this is a field that women are breaking into at just rapid rates. There's more and more. I mean, and even on the trade side, there's more and more women that are getting into the trade side. Lots of more women are getting. The interior design is getting more and more complex. Great degree fields in that, but there is always a need for women to get into construction, and I cannot stress that enough. That for decades it was a male dominated industry. but more and more women are getting into it, and you're a great example of that. So, what are some places that women can find themselves in construction? Because it's something rather new in the last decade.
Man, pretty much in every aspect of the trades of the business, you can women has a place. I mean, I'll see them if they're, Texas, we're not a union state, but there are, the unions, they can get tied into the unions, if it's electrical, if it's the plumbing, carpentry. Women are really good when it comes to the carpentry, especially on the finish side. When you get to the Division 9, because women pay attention to the detail, they're much cleaner. They're going to keep a clean project site.
There you go. There you
So, yeah,
go.
so there's like a lot of opportunities. I mean, I see women on the construction site more and more every time I'm out there, and I'm in the
That's awesome.
field a lot.
That's awesome. Now, and another thing about this industry, I don't think people understand is, I have kids say all the time, well, I want to travel, I want to see the country. Well, construction is a field where you can travel around. I hear about people all the time, you know, these big corporations, they're going to use the same contractors to build everything. So every time they're building a new department store, every time they're building a Walmart, every time they're building a Target, you know, they like using the people they know. So these folks are flying all over the world and country to build these buildings, and they're somewhere different all the time.
You're absolutely right. They do travel, especially if you're on the project management side. The superintendents, they travel. They will travel with those because they're experts in whatever that is, healthcare, industrial, K through 12, higher education. They're experts and they take them with them. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Now, before I get to their questions, because we have a few I want to get to, I just want to talk about, a lot of people may not have seen construction as a way to make a great living because, like I said, there's been so many stereotypes of, well, if you, just be a construction worker if you can't do anything else. But I don't think people understand the amount of skill and talent. There's no way that I can just look at a blueprint and put something together. I mean, I don't have that talent or ability. So it really does require immense amount of skill. And it really is something that I think people should consider because, like we said, you don't ever even have to pick up a hammer, and you can be a one that has a huge hand in designing these buildings.
That's correct.
All right, so I do have some questions here, and I'll get these are really good. This first one is Jeremiah Williamson. He's one of our football players here at Velma Jackson. He's in ninth grade, and he asked if I wanted to get into construction, what type of education would you suggest that I get in order to get into the field?
Well, what I would do first, Jeremiah, I would take there's a lot of certification classes that you can take that are going to be really quick, maybe, 6 weeks. First, you want to get OSHA certified, your OSHA 10 or 30, which is very simple, 10 hours for OSHA 10. OSHA 30 will take you like 4 days. You need that to know the safety because every last one of these projects, is safety first, and they want to make sure that you understand that because everybody needs to go home safe. The second thing I would do is I would look in, here in Dallas, we have Construction Education Foundation that are real specific about different things in construction. So I would kind of play around with those classes first, get certified, get a certification. If it's, there's construction management certifications, here in Dallas, in the Dallas Fort Worth area, UTA has a construction management certification where you're going to go through the specification, read the blueprints, look at the documentation specifications. That's very, very important. And you're going to be, you have to be a good reader. You're going to have to read because you're going to have to know what those plans are saying and make sure you're building that project according to specs. So I would definitely look at some construction management classes.
Yeah, and you talk about building according to specs. There is so much customer service that goes into this job. I mean, I tell this story all the time because I think it's funny, and I'll talk about my own mother on here. When we were building a house back in 1994, it was her dream to have a gas stove. I don't know
Mm.
why, but she would not shut up about it. And they messed up on the gas line. She went out there and made them dig up the entire thing and start over. Now,
Wow.
I was 12 years old, so I thought she was being silly, but that's how serious people take construction. So there's a lot of customer service involved, and you're not building it the way you want it. You're building it the way your customer wants it.
Exactly.
So, the customer service skills can go so far. So if you're a great customer service person, this could be a great field for you because these customers need to know that they're getting what they're paying for.
That's right.
Here's one. This is Landria Wilder. She's a senior, our student council president here at Velma Jackson, and also one of our volleyball players. And she has two questions. She asked, "What do you feel is the most strenuous part of the construction process?"
Oh, wow. The most strenuous part. It's team building. You're going to be dealing with a lot of different personalities, a lot of different people, and you're going to have to know, how to deal with people. And but the key thing to that is respect. As long as you have respect for your team members, I think that kind of take it out of that people part of it, because you have to get comfortable with the people that you're working for. Because as you
Yeah,
know, you will, everybody's going to have opinions, everybody's going to do things a certain way, but as long as you have respect for each other, and I think that getting along on these projects is one of the key things of pulling out a successful project.
absolutely. And she also asked, "What is changing that this career field taught you, even though you didn't initially start out in the construction industry?"
It has taught me that I have to, I mean, every day is a challenge. We can't stand the problem. You have to find a solution. There's a solution to every problem. You know,
Yeah.
um, I think that is the biggest one, because people, I mean, they want to get a job done, whether it's renovation, whether it's a new build. But even in the renovation, they may think they want one color, and then they decide midstream, oh no, this color is going to be better. So you have to be able to adapt to what your customers want. So I think that would be a big one, just being able to be nimble and change on a dime.
Big time. This is Erin Gaines. She's in ninth grade, member of our JROTC here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, "What word of advice would you give to a woman that wanted to get into this field?"
Just go for it. Put those steel toe boots on and those jeans on, and just act like you supposed to be there. And you know what? Don't be afraid to learn. Just be a good student. Every day I'm a good student. I'm always learning, because what you have to realize, a lot of these guys and women have been out here in this field for decades. They have a lot of experience. They have their means and methods is the way they will be doing things. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to bring up ideas. If you got a better solution, bring that up when you're sitting in those meetings, because you never know who's going to take your idea.
But I can tell you one thing about her. She's definitely a good student. So she'd be that person asking the tough questions. So whatever she
Awesome.
decides to do, she'll do well at it. I just got one more. This is Cameron Nettles. He's in 10th grade, one of our football players here at Velma Jackson. And he asked, "In this field, would there really be a place for someone to cut corners and not, and even if they had the skills, would there be room for them to cut corners on a job?"
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no cutting corners. You're looking for quality. You have QA, QC out there, and you absolutely cannot cut corners. Cutting corners can cause a safety issue. Cutting corners can cause someone not to be able to go home to their families. So you want to make sure you're not cutting any corners.
Absolutely. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule, especially with your site visit today. But before we go, just tell us where they can find DLB Consulting online and see some of the work you guys do.
Absolutely. You can go out on our website to www.consultantsdlb.com. And that's consultantsdlb.com. Follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram as well.
Yeah, and you guys have some really cool pictures of the work you do there in DFW, and and we talk about traveling. Well, there's so much work to do in DFW. I don't think y'all gonna have to leave the area for a while. I
Man,
was just in Duncanville this summer, and there was all kind of stuff being built just in that little suburb. So really a great area there, and you guys are doing a great job. But the
I
last thing before
appreciate
we go,
it.
you know, oh, and you're very welcome. The last thing before we go, even if these kids may not realize the amount of career opportunities in construction, and we talked about some of them briefly, because they may think, well, I don't like being hot. I don't, I don't want to hurt myself, but why should they really consider getting into this field? Because it is not just the people we see on the job site.
No, you really should consider it because it is lucrative. You can make a career out of construction no matter where you start. If you work hard, you can build your way up. You can set up your retirement. If you're going to start your own business, you can start the business, have an exit strategy of someone running the business for you later on down the road, and you just do oversight. But there is absolutely a need in construction. There is a career in construction, and you will make lots of money in construction if you just be able to just learn things and do things the right way, not cut corners.
Love it. Well, again, we thank you so much for joining us, my friend, founder of DLB Consulting right there in Dallas, Texas, Demetria Bivens. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, thank you very much. Talk to you guys
I
soon.
talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye bye.